What's up, mortals? It's Dante. We are back with chapter 180 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, Isolde and Pelio. We got some new information this chapter, so let's get right into it. Xion ramped up his attack, staging a one-sided barrage, but in the end, it was awe-inspiring, perfect win for Tantris. So Tristan and Xion are now returning, with Xion sobbing his eyes out and Tristan just walking past them as if he's some sort of diva. Donnie and Percival and the gang go over to cheer up Xion and wondering if he's good or hurt at all. But he's just sighing, saying, "Yes, in my heart, Prince Tristan, he should have forgotten about me, but still, he saved me, but I had to get his memories back. I was so horrible to him." Everyone is agreeing that Tristan really needs his memories back, even though deep down he still is the same guy that they know him to be. Even with Donnie saying, "Yeah, sure, but his mind's still wiped, huh?" Moving to Tristan, he notices that Isolde is missing, so he just pops on up, asks where Isolde is, saying that he won, but to his shock, he notices that she has fallen over and fainted onto 𝐸𝐿𝐿. 𝐸𝐿𝐿 explains that she fainted because she saw him go through into battle, with Tristan apologizing profusely. But his attitude sparkles up. I mean, seriously, he's freaking sparkling, and starts to shake his hand, saying, "Thank you for looking after her. How can I ever repay you?" 𝐸𝐿𝐿 remembers that the prince has lost his memories, but to our surprise, Bors actually notices Tristan and says, "Wait, is that you, Prince Tristan?" And Tristan asks him, "Prince? Me? And how does Bors know who he is?" Well, it turns out that Bors was actually in Liones for Tristan's 10th birthday, when everyone was out on the balcony waving to the crowds of Liones. He only knows that because he was there to see the 7 deadly sins, so that was actually more of an inconvenience. And this begins to jog some memories, or at least jog something. Tristan says, "Liones? 7 deadly what?" This not only jogs memories for Tristan, kind of, but it also scares Isolde and also results in Bors getting slammed by 𝐸𝐿𝐿. 𝐸𝐿𝐿 gets Bors into a headlock and says, "You idiot! You were warned not to agitate him if we ran into him. Now he's wary of us." Isolde calls out his name, but then they were interrupted by the blowing horn, because up next it is the 4th battle of Block B. Pelio versus Isolde. Tristan asks why is there a second Isolde, and even says why does his heart speed up whenever he sees her. And this freaks out the other Isolde so much she just faints again. Seriously, what is up with her? Tristan starts to freak out again, and 𝐸𝐿𝐿 says that he has an apothecary friend around her who could see to her. While that's going on, the battle finally begins. Pelio and Isolde start to talk. Pelio says that, to be honest, Isolde, it doesn't matter which one of us wins, but what will it be? If you're not prepared to fight Prince Tristan, you could just give me the victory. Isolde responds saying that she's not sure if she's prepared at all, even putting aside the question of whether or not bringing Prince Tristan's memories back is even possible. What are they to do? But the crowd is not liking that, saying, "Yes, yakking, more fighting." However, Isolde notices from the crowd Tristan is carrying the fake Isolde away, and she starts to essentially freak out, saying, "No, stop being close to him," and starts going full on jealous. And this jealousy is starting to show way easier than intended. Yeah, most girls blush. Isolde is about to freaking explode. She's saying, "Stop it." Her magic is radiating, and when she finally yells out now, oh boy, you gotta feel bad for Pelio, because kaboom! A gigantic bluster of an explosion as just, oh boy, that, talk about an opening move, and also giving Pelio his answer. Pelio, oh, you gotta feel bad for Peliotis. He just says, "Yeah, I forfeit." And let's be real, this guy was not exactly going to win anyway. Pelio's magic is good when he's going up against an opponent and say in a one-on-one brawl. But the reason why he fell against Pelgard the Black Knight in their first meeting was because he used a wild stampede of his pyre magic. And because of what happened with Isolde with releasing a bunch of wild attacks, there was no way he was going to win to begin with. So of course Pelio bails out, and that is an abrupt way to end the day, much to the booing of the crowds. And Isolde winning Block B. Isolde apologizes, saying that she didn't mean to do that. He says that whether you meant to do it or not, you have your answer now. Just try throwing that stuff at him next time, okay? You can count me out of this lover spat. He goes up to the crowd who are booing and throwing trash at him, but Boris is saying, Pelio, you gotta show off more next time, man. You're the last one I want to hear from. And now we have 8 gladiators who will proceed to the second round. Here's the card for tomorrow's proceedings. For the first fight of Block A, Percival versus Mystery Package. The second in Block A pits against 𝐼𝐶𝐻𝐿 and Diodora. Block B's first bout will be Gawain versus Balin. And the second we'll see Tantris versus Isolde. But for now, the fight is over. Have a great night, fans. Gladiators, take this chance to rest up and replenish while you can. You're going to need it. Pelio and Hauser actually meet up, with Pelio saying, Captain, are you okay to move right now? Yep, I owe Percival big time. But look at us. We're leaders and we both lost the first round. You said it. By the way, Pelio, why did you let Isolde win instead of fighting it out? He explains, because neither me or her are capable of beating Prince Tristan. But now the question is, how do we make him regain his memory? If we have a chance at that, I suppose we're gonna have to bet on the power of love, or so on, huh? We then cut to the entire group meeting up to see this new Isolde. Everyone is just staring daggers into this girl while 𝐼𝐶𝐻𝐿 is explaining that it's just exhaustion. Isolde is thankful, saying that she feels much better, and 𝐼𝐶𝐻𝐿 saying that he can prescribe a drug to help with that. Man, this moment has got to be all kinds of awkward and tense. You can tell just on their faces. Tristan apologizes to them, saying, perhaps I've misled you. You treat me so badly, and yet you're so kind in return. Percival says that it's nothing to worry about. And here, take this. With Tristan and Isolde now on their way, with Isolde 1 and Anne looking very disappointed, as opposed to Donnie, who's just saying, nothing serious, huh? Sure am glad for that. You idiot. Anne is furious again, saying, don't be glad about this. While Donnie's just trying to reflect all the attention onto 𝐸dlyn, saying, but it wasn't about me. It was 𝐸dlyn who brought him here. Don't pin this on me. Anne is huffing mad, yelling, but what do you want from me? You brought them here, right? So Isolde could say up. She's not wrong. She turns her attention then to 𝐼𝐶𝐻𝐿, demanding why the doctor would give her a medication for exhaustion anyway. But Percival asks, was there anything that you noticed? 𝐼𝐶𝐻𝐿 says, certainly rest is the best treatment for physical exhaustion. But Gawain agrees, saying no doubt about it. Cutting to a dark aura because it turns out with those symptoms, I'd say her exhaustion was caused by sending massive amount of magical force. Oh boy, our first clue. Tristan and Isolde are now alone in their own little cubbies, saying that they were nice, huh? But Isolde asked Tristan to not fight like that again. However, Tristan says, you know, Isolde, who am I anyway? Oh boy, we are finally going to get some answers soon, because now chapter 180 is over. I am so glad Tristan is finally catching on to why people are calling him Tristan and not Tantris. So from the hints that we got, it seems as if this Isolde is the cause of it. her fainting and her quote-unquote disease turns out to actually be more magical exhaustion. She is casting a spell, most likely keeping Tristan as Tantris. The question now is why? Why is she doing this? And is this girl even really named Isolde? It's probably not, because my guess is her magic is mental and she found out that Tristan has emotions and an attraction to the real Isolde. That's why he got so flustered whenever he saw her. So she's using this name and her identity to use Tristan like a puppet. But let's also talk about the upcoming fights. We are finally getting a break. Thank God, these fights were starting to drag. A little break is nice, but we are now also going to get into more serious fights. At least, some are. Here's what I think is going to happen for these next fights and how they're going to proceed, as you could tell by this chart. Percival versus Mystery Package. I'd have to say Dubs is going to forfeit because he probably just joined the fight to give them their weapons, but Percival still needs his, so Dubs is going to have to flee in order to make something, and while he's at it, maybe he can make something for Tristan. Speaking of which, Tristan versus Isolde. This one might be a little tough, but it all depends on what's going to happen next. I theorize that this fake Isolde is going to do something to Tristan just to keep him as Tantris for just a little while longer. It's clear she's doing something to him, but we're going to have to find out what she's doing and what she's planning in the next chapter. So, depending on what the fake one does, Tristan is probably going to fight the real Isolde, but this might break the spell, because love. Gawain versus Balin. I know Balin is a badass, invincible man, but Gawain is also a badass woman who is incredibly smart. Not to mention, we found out what his invincibility is. It's magic. Gawain is going to have to fight smarter, not harder. She could stall for time by trying to fight him in a fisticuffs battle with her large buff form, but it's going to have to be her using her brains to cancel out this invincible magic. Balin is a one-trick pony, whereas Gawain has numerous tricks up her sleeve. And finally, the one that I'm unsure of who's actually going to win, and that is 𝐿𝐿𝐿 versus 𝐼𝐶𝐸𝐻. The fight has been built up for 𝐿𝐿𝐿 to fight against Percival because the whole brothers bonding body switch thing that 𝐼𝐿𝐿 was planning. This has been built up in the earlier chapters. But how is 𝐿𝐿𝐿 going to win? He's weak, he has no magic, he had to rely on his friends in order to win against Anne. And now I assume that he's going to forbid them in the next round for even helping. So 𝐿𝐿𝐿 has to find his ace in order to fight against a fairy giant hybrid, guidance of the fairy clan's god, the sacred tree, and also who is equipped with a fairy spear, and also 2 gloves given to them by the master craftsman Dubs himself. There's a lot more riding on 𝐼𝐶𝐸𝐻's winning than 𝐿𝐿𝐿, but given that the plot has been building up 𝐿𝐿𝐿 versus Percival, something is going to have to happen. But what do you think is going to happen in the next chapter? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you love 7 Deadly Sins and want more content. We'll be out as soon as we can. This has been Dante from the Anime Underworld. I'll see you mortals later.